fast forwarding. I got out of office. I served 2 terms. I got out of office January 1 of 2003. I went to Nepal. One of the first things I did, I was fortunate enough to get to the top of Mount Everest, but I've kind of been adventuring since. And I purposely have kept my mouth shut when it's come to national politics and state politics, believing that I had my shot, and I thought I made the most of that shot. But going back now about 11 months ago, I was really upset. I was really upset with what was happening nationally, and I was really upset with what's happening in the state of New Mexico. And that starts with the economy. That starts with the deficit. That starts with spending. That starts with the fact that taxes are going up across the board. 43 cents now out of every dollar that's being spent in this country is borrowed. How much should government be cut back? 43%. And how do you do that? Well, nobody's talking about how to really do that. And the way that you do that is Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, the 3 biggest items. We have to reform Medicaid, we have to reform Medicare, and we've got to cut Social Security. I think the only area that's really exempt from cutting are probably those individuals that are currently receiving Social Security. But outside of that, for those that are going to go on it, I think steps have to be taken to cut Social Security. And for those individuals that are on Medicare currently, you can't exempt the fact that we can't get more efficient with the delivery of health care for our aging population. We have to. There's no alternative. This is really insanity, I think. The fact that promises were made in this country with these entitlements, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, promises were made that should have never been made. And this notion that we're going to hand this debt over to our children is absolutely insane. It's here. It's now. It's right now. And if we don't deal with it, we're third-rate country. What we've experienced the last year, I think, will be pale in comparison to what it will be going forward if we don't address these issues. And address these issues. Well, how about today? It's going to be really, really hard to deal with these issues starting today. But it'll never be easier than to address them today. Never. And again, it's going to be really difficult to deal with these issues. I'd also like to touch on. I would also like to touch on free market. I mentioned earlier education. I think free market principles directed at education would improve education in a dramatic way. Educational entrepreneurs unleashed to deliver better product, better service, lower price when it comes to education in this country. I think that healthcare fits in that same category. Healthcare entrepreneurs, barriers dropped by the government to allow entry into a field that currently is limited. There are all sorts of barriers to entry getting into the healthcare field. Need to drop those barriers, and by doing that, really blow the lid off of supply when it comes to healthcare. This whole notion of healthcare insurance, I mean, this healthcare debate has become about insurance entitlement rather than healthcare reform. What about lowering prices for healthcare? Well, lower prices, you got to blow the lid off of supply, something that hasn't happened. And as it's currently laid out, we're just going to drop 30 million more Americans on a system that won't have any more capacity. We're going to be looking at higher costs, and we're going to be looking at rationing. And it's really, truly insanity that given the entitlements as they are, Medicaid, Medicare, the 2 bookends, now we're going to add the middle? You know that when Medicare was adopted in the mid-60s, the estimate for Medicare costs in 1980 were estimated to be $10 billion. In 1980, Medicare cost $100 billion. Today, Medicare costs are over $500 billion, and they're growing. And we've got a population now that's just beginning to enter into Medicare eligibility. Absolutely has to be addressed. I envisioned Gallbladders Are Us when it came to health care reform. You know, that we would actually have, you know, maybe you get a ticket to Detroit for your gallbladder surgery that in some mega gallbladder facility. And again, this is happening right now in India, where heart surgery now is offered at tens of thousands of dollars rather than hundreds of thousands of dollars. But wherever you see competition in healthcare, usually these are in the cosmetic surgery areas or elective surgery areas, costs have gone down. Free market principles applied to healthcare. Shifting gears to national defense. I think that the United States of America has an obligation constitutionally to provide for anyone that's going to raise arms up against the United States of America. And that's unquestioned, all right? Anybody that's going to engage the United States in armed conflict needs to be taken on. I would argue that that's neither happening in Iraq or Afghanistan. I would argue, and did before we went into Iraq, that Iraq really didn't pose a threat, that if they would have rolled out any weapons of mass destruction, we could have seen that from a military surveillance capacity and gone in and annihilated that situation. I believe before we went into Iraq, we would find ourselves mired in a civil war to which there would be no end. I think that there is a similar situation in Afghanistan today, where we're fighting the Taliban. Let's see, we're fighting the Taliban that we supported against the Soviet Union? I don't know. They were bad then, but they're bad now, but they were good then. Nah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We, again, have an obligation on this national defense front. I would argue it's not being threatened in either Iraq or Afghanistan, and that we should get out of Iraq and Afghanistan. We should bring our troops home. And then there's the whole notion, too, of 43 cents out of every dollar right now is being borrowed. So we're building schools, roads, bridges, hospitals in Iraq and Afghanistan? And we're borrowing 43 cents out of every dollar to do this. I just think we can do better. I think that we can do a whole lot better. So I have formed an initiative, our America Initiative, and it's Advocacy Committee. I am the honorary chairman of the Advocacy Committee, allowing me to raise money and speak out on the issues of the day. And there are other issues of the day, which certainly maybe we can talk about here if anybody's interested. But really with that, I would love to entertain any questions or comments, insults that any of you might have.